The air in the courtroom was thick, a suffocating blend of stale coffee, expensive perfume, and decades of simmering resentment. All eyes were on one man, Kody Brown, the patriarch, the leader, the self-proclaimed king of his now shattered kingdom, sat under the harsh fluorescent lights of the Coconino County Superior Court, his famous flowing locks looking uncharacteristically flat. His lawyer had just asked him to explain the financial structure of his family to the court. Kody leaned into the microphone, a smirk playing on his lips, and delivered the line he believed would be his silver bullet, his divine shield. "This is a religious covenant, not a business. This is about faith, about a sacred promise I made before yan dunda my means. You can't apply your secular business rules to God's law." Kody Brown tried to put his faith on trial. He tried to argue that his family was above the law of the land. But as we've exclusively uncovered here at COCO Gossip, the law had a very, very different opinion. Hello, and welcome back to COCO Gossip, your #1 source for the stories behind the scenes that they don't want you to know. What you are about to hear is the culmination of months of investigation, combing through explosive insider reports, and connecting with sources so deep inside the Brown family drama, they're practically living in Robyn's walk-in closet. This is the story of the lawsuit that brought the Brown empire to its knees. If you are ready for the whole unbelievable truth, do me a huge favor right now. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a single second of our exclusive deep dives. You are not going to want to miss where this story goes. Now, let's get into it. The final straw. So, how did we get here? How did a family that preached unity and faith on national television for over a decade end up in a brutal court battle that threatened to expose every last one of their financial secrets? To understand the lawsuit, you have to understand the breaking point, and our sources say it wasn't a single event, but a slow, agonizing financial strangulation of the OG wives, masterminded by Kody and his legal wife Robyn. For years, fans have watched Christine and Janelle talk about the family pot. The idea was simple, at least on the surface. All income earned by Kody and his first 3 wives went into a single financial entity. From this pot, all family expenses were paid: mortgages, food, cars, healthcare, everything. It was the bedrock of their plural family structure. It was built on trust. And according to the lawsuit we've gained exclusive details on, that trust was not just broken. It was systematically exploited and drained. The lawsuit, officially filed as Christine R. Woolley, Janelle T. Brown, and Mary C. Barber v. Kody W. Brown and Robyn A. Brown, wasn't just about getting Christine's money back for her house in Utah. Oh no, this was so much bigger. This was a legal bombshell aimed squarely at the heart of Kody and Robyn's carefully constructed financial fortress. Our insider, a source we'll call the Coyote, who has ties to the family's business dealings in Flagstaff, described the final confrontation that triggered the legal action. It allegedly happened in the spring of 2023, months after the world watched the final pieces of the family fall apart on television. Insider, the Coyote, said, Christine had been trying for months to get a clear accounting of the family's assets, specifically her share of Coyote Pass. She'd put hundreds of thousands of dollars into the family pot over the years, from her TLC money, from her MLM businesses, everything. Janelle was in the same boat. They weren't trying to be greedy, they were trying to secure their futures. Kody just stonewalled them. He'd text back things like, "It's all family money," or "You left the covenant, you left the money." According to the Coyote, Janelle and Christine decided they needed to confront him in person, with a financial advisor present. They arranged a meeting at a neutral location, a small accounting office in Flagstaff. They came prepared with spreadsheets, bank statements they'd managed to pull, and a clear list of what they had contributed. The meeting, as our source describes it, was a catastrophe. Insider. The Coyote said, Kody showed up with Robyn. That was the first red flag. This was supposed to be a financial discussion about the OG family pot, and Robyn's presence immediately changed the dynamic. She was crying before they even sat down, saying things like, "I don't know why you guys are attacking us, and we're all supposed to be a family." It was classic manipulation. Janelle, ever the pragmatist, reportedly tried to keep things on track. She laid out the numbers. She showed the initial investment into Coyote Pass, the down payments on the various homes, the cash infusions from her own savings. Christine then presented her contributions, her voice shaking but firm. They proposed a simple buyout, a fair market value for their shares of the property and a return of a percentage of the liquid assets they'd contributed to. And that's when Kody exploded. Our source claims Kody stood up, slammed his hand on the table, and delivered a speech that would become the foundation of his entire disastrous legal defense. Kody Brown. Reenacted voiceover based on insider account. Kody said, "Fair? You want to talk about fair? I am the head of this family, the priesthood head. The money you earned was under my spiritual authority. It wasn't your money, it was the family's money, and I, as the head of the household, direct where it goes. You didn't just sign a business contract. You entered a celestial covenant. When you left me, you broke that covenant. You walked away from God's plan, and you walked away from any claim to the assets blessed upon this family by Him. This money is protected by our faith. You have no right to it. It belongs to the family that remains faithful. It belongs to me and Robyn." He was, in effect, declaring a form of spiritual bankruptcy on their behalf. He was claiming that their decades of financial contributions were null and void because they had, in his eyes, committed a spiritual crime by leaving him. Robyn, our source says, just sat there nodding and dabbing her eyes with a tissue, whispering, "It's true. It's a spiritual principle." That was it. That was the moment Christine and Janelle knew they couldn't do this on their own. The man they had supported, financed, and followed for decades had just used their shared faith as a weapon to justify, in their eyes, grand-scale theft. They walked out of that office, and within a week they had retained the services of a formidable legal team. The war had begun, assembling the legal armies. You can't go into a war like this unarmed. Christine and Janelle knew they needed a legal shark, someone who wouldn't be intimidated by Kody's blustering or the reality TV cameras that would inevitably follow. Our sources have confirmed they hired the Phoenix-based law firm of Harrison and Finch, specifically a partner named Eleanor Vance. Vance is known in Arizona legal circles as the Lioness. She's a no-nonsense, fiercely intelligent litigator who specializes in complex financial disputes and partnership dissolutions. We've obtained leaked portion of the initial email Vance sent to Kody's lawyer after being retained. It is chilling. Demand for accounting and distribution. Brown family assets. Mr. Stone, be advised that this firm has been retained by Miss Christine Woolley and Janelle Brown regarding the dissolution of their long-standing financial partnership with your client, Mr. Kody Brown. For more than 25 years, our clients have contributed the substantial majority of their income into a commingled financial entity, referred to colloquially as the family pot, and more formally known as the Brown Family Trust. Your client's recent assertion that these financial contributions are forfeit due to a breach of a religious covenant is, to be blunt, legally preposterous. Arizona contract and partnership law is not superseded by your client's novel and self-serving interpretation of his theology. He cannot and will not be permitted to use the shield of religious freedom to justify financial fraud. We have bank records, property deeds, tax filings, and production contracts that clearly establish a multi-decade financial partnership. Mr. Brown has willingly and repeatedly availed himself of the secular legal and financial systems of this country to his great benefit. He cannot now claim to be exempt from their obligations. We demand a full and transparent accounting of all assets held by the Brown Family Trust or any entity controlled by Mr. or Mrs. Robyn Brown into which funds from the trust were transferred within 10 business days. Failure to comply will result in the immediate filing of a lawsuit seeking not only equitable distribution, but also punitive damages for breach of fiduciary duty and fraudulent conversion. Govern yourself accordingly, Eleanor Vance, Esquire. Chills. Absolute chills. Legally preposterous. Novel and self-serving interpretation of his theology. Justify financial fraud. This was not just a legal letter, it was a declaration of war. Vance wasn't just coming for a settlement, she was coming for Kody's entire narrative. So who did Kody get to fight the lioness? This is where the story takes a turn for the bizarre. According to our exclusive COCO gossip theories, Kody didn't seek out a top-tier financial litigator from Scottsdale. Instead, he reportedly hired a lawyer we mentioned in that email, a man named Jedediah Stone. Stone is a lesser-known attorney from Provo, Utah, who specializes in religious freedom cases. He's built a small but loud reputation for defending fringe religious groups in zoning disputes and employment cases. He's more of a constitutional crusader than a contract law expert. A source familiar with the Utah legal community described him as a true believer with a flair for the dramatic, but completely out of his depth in a multi-million-dollar financial fraud case. This was Kody's first and perhaps most critical mistake. He didn't hire a lawyer to win a financial case. He hired a lawyer to fight a holy war in a secular courtroom. He wanted a co-star for his persecution narrative, not a strategist who could navigate the complexities of Arizona partnership law. The initial legal filings from Stone's office were, according to legal experts we consulted, utterly baffling. The first major document filed was not a response to the financial claims, but a motion to dismiss for lack of subject matter jurisdiction. Let me translate that from legal essay into plain English for you. Kody's lawyer was arguing that the Coconino County Superior Court, a court of the state of Arizona, had no authority, no jurisdiction to even hear the case. Why? Because the Brown family was not a business partnership. It was a sui generis ecclesiastical entity. A what? Sui generis is a Latin term meaning of its own kind or unique. He was arguing the Brown family was a unique religious creation, a church unto itself, and its internal financial dealings were protected by the First Amendment's Establishment Clause, which prevents the government from interfering with the internal governance of a church. He was literally arguing that Kody Brown was the head of the Church of Kody, and the court had no more right to tell him how to handle his tithing, the wife's income, than it had to tell the Catholic Church how to handle its collection plates. It was a breathtakingly arrogant and legally flimsy argument, and it was the first taste the court would get of Kody Brown's spiritual marriage defense. The legal community in Arizona was reportedly buzzing. One prominent Phoenix lawyer, who spoke to us on the condition of anonymity, said, "We all saw that filing and thought it was a joke. It read like a manifesto, not a legal motion. It cited scripture more than it cited case law. Everyone knew this was going to be a train wreck." Eleanor Vance's response was swift and brutal. It was a 50-page document that systematically tore Stone's argument to shreds. She included copies of joint loan applications signed by Kody and Janelle, business licenses for their various LLCs, like My Sister Wife's Closet, registered with the state of Nevada, mortgage documents for their Las Vegas homes, where they were all listed as co-borrowers or parties of interest, and the real kicker, copies of Kody Brown's tax returns from several years where he had filed jointly with Mary and later Robyn and listed Christine and Janelle as members of his household to claim additional exemptions. Her closing argument in the response filing was devastating. Mr. Brown cannot simultaneously claim the tax and credit benefits of a secular family unit recognized by the government while also claiming to be a sovereign ecclesiastical entity immune from that same government's laws. He wants to have his Holy Communion and eat it too. This court is not so naive. The judge, a highly respected and no-nonsense jurist named Judge Evelyn Hayes, denied Kody's motion to dismiss without even holding a hearing. In a one-page order, she simply wrote, "The defendant's attempt to shield an alleged financial dispute behind the First Amendment is unavailing. This is a contract dispute. The motion is denied. Proceed with discovery." The holy war was over before it began. Now, Kody would have to fight on the battlefield of facts, figures, and receipts. And our sources say that's where Robyn Brown began to truly panic. The discovery wars and Robyn's meltdown. Discovery is the phase of a lawsuit where both sides have to show their cards. They exchange documents, emails, text messages, and conduct depositions, which are sworn testimonies taken before trial. For a family as secretive about its finances as the Browns, this was their worst nightmare come true. Eleanor Vance, the lioness, unleashed a torrent of discovery requests that were laser-focused on one person, Robyn Brown. Vance's theory of the case was simple. Kody Brown didn't just mismanage the family money. He, at the direction and for the benefit of Robyn, actively and fraudulently converted it. Conversion is a legal term for taking someone else's property for your own use. It's the civil law equivalent of theft. Vance demanded a full accounting of every dollar that went into and out of the Brown family trust for the last 15 years. But she didn't stop there. She also subpoenaed the records for, Robyn Brown's personal bank accounts, the business accounts for my sister-wife's closet, also credit card statements for every card held by Kody and Robyn, loan documents for their vehicles, and most explosively, records from online retailers and marketplaces like QVC, Amazon, and eBay, along with receipts from high-end department stores in Las Vegas and Flagstaff. Our insider, the Coyote, tells us that when Robyn was served with these subpoenas, she had a full-blown on-the-floor meltdown. Insider. The Coyote said she was screaming at Kody that this was all Christine's fault, that Christine was evil and was trying to destroy her and her tender-aged children. She kept crying, "My credit card bills are private. They have nothing to do with the family." But Kody's lawyer, Jedediah Stone, had to explain to them that yes, they absolutely do. If Christine and Janelle's money went into a pot, and then money from that pot paid Robyn's credit card bills, then where that money went is 100% relevant to the case. They had to turn it all over. And what those documents allegedly showed was shocking, even to those of us who have followed this family for years. We have not seen these documents ourselves, but our sources who are close to the legal proceedings have described their contents in detail. The picture they painted was not one of a family sharing resources, but of a slow, steady siphoning of funds from the collective to one specific household. The reports from these documents suggest massive credit card debt. While Janelle was living in an RV on Coyote Pass to save money, and Christine was fundraising to pay for Isabel's surgery, Robyn was allegedly racking up tens of thousands of dollars a year on personal credit cards. The statement showed a pattern of extravagant spending. Designer handbags, expensive home decor, premium subscription boxes, and of course a jaw-dropping amount spent on precious collectibles and figurines. We're talking thousands upon thousands of dollars. The MSWC black hole. The My Sister Wife's Closet business records were reportedly a complete disaster. The company, which was funded with money from the family pot, appeared to be a financial black hole. It generated almost no income, but had significant expenses, including payments to vendors that were, shall we say, difficult to trace. The plaintiffs alleged in their filings that the business was used as a slush fund, a way to move money out of the family pot and into accounts controlled solely by Kody and Robyn under the guise of business expenses. Suspicious cash withdrawals, bank records for the Brown family trust, showed a pattern of large, regular cash withdrawals, hundreds of dollars at a time, several times a month. When Kody was asked about these in his deposition, he reportedly claimed they were for household expenses, but could not produce a single receipt or explain why he needed so much untraceable cash when the family used debit and credit cards for most purchases. The plaintiff's legal team theorized that this cash was being used to fund a lifestyle for Kody and Robyn that they didn't want appearing on any bank statements. The most damning piece of evidence to emerge from discovery was what the legal team started calling the secret account. In 2018, shortly after the move to Flagstaff and just before the purchase of Robyn's huge house, a new LLC was formed, K&R Holdings. The only signatories on the account were Kody Brown and Robyn Brown. Over the next 2 years, a series of large lump sum transfers were made from the main Brown family trust into the K&R Holdings account. The total amount transferred, according to our sources, was in excess of $400,000. What was this money used for? It was the down payment on Robyn's $1 million home. In his deposition, Kody was confronted with these transfer records. He tried to argue it was all above board. Eleanor Vance. Mr. Brown, can you identify this document? It's a bank statement for an entity called the Brown Family Trust, dated June 2018. Kody Brown. Looks like it. Vance. And do you see this line item here? A wire transfer out of the account for $150,000? Brown. I do. Vance. And where did that money go, Mr. Brown? Brown. To our other account. For the family. Vance. You mean the K&R Holdings account? Brown. Yes. The family account. Vance. But Mr. Brown, Christine Brown is not a signatory on that account. Is she, Brown? No. Vance. Janelle Brown is not a signatory on that account, is she? Brown. No. Vance. Mary Brown is not a signatory on that account, is she? Brown. No, it was for efficiency. I'm the president of the family. I handle these things. Vance. So you, the president of the family, transferred $150,000, money contributed by Christine, Janelle, and Mary, out of an account they had access to and into a secret account that only you and Robyn controlled, just days before you put a down payment on Robyn's home? Brown. It's not a secret account. And it's not Robyn's home at all. It's the family's, Mom. It's all one family. Vance. But the deed is only in your and Robyn's names, isn't it, Mr. Brown? Christine's name isn't on that deed, is it? Brown. Muttering. She chose to leave the family. Vance. No further questions at this time. It was a disaster. The depositions of Kody and Robyn were reportedly so full of contradictions, evasions, and outright lies that Eleanor Vance filed a motion for sanctions against them for perjury. The judge denied the motion but issued a stern warning to Kody's lawyer, Jedediah Stone, to get your clients under control. The discovery phase had given Christine and Janelle all the ammunition they needed. They had the bank statements, the credit card bills, the secret accounts. They had a clear, documented trail of how money meant for the entire family, money meant to develop Coyote Pass, money meant to provide security for all 4 wives, had been systematically diverted to fund the lavish lifestyle and secure the financial future of only one. The stage was set for a courtroom showdown. Kody's spiritual marriage defense was about to collide with a mountain of cold, hard financial evidence, and the world was about to see just how deep the rot in the Brown family finances truly went. The trial begins, a circus in Flagstaff. The first day of the trial felt less like a legal proceeding and more like the premiere of a blockbuster movie. Media vans with satellite dishes lined the street outside the Coconino County Courthouse. A crowd of onlookers and fans had gathered, some holding signs that said, Team Christine or Justice for Janelle. It was a media circus, and at the center of it all were the fractured pieces of the Brown family. Christine arrived with her new husband, David, holding her head high. She looked radiant, confident, a woman who had found her voice and was ready to use it. Janelle arrived shortly after, calm and composed as always, carrying a thick binder of documents. She wasn't there for the drama, she was there for the numbers. Mary's arrival was the most intriguing. Our COCO gossip theory is that she was subpoenaed by Christine's team as a reluctant but necessary witness. She looked conflicted, caught between her lingering loyalty to the idea of the family and the undeniable truth of her own financial predicament. And then Kody and Robyn arrived. They walked in like they were martyrs heading to the gallows. Kody had his jaw set, a look of grim defiance on his face. Robyn was hidden behind a pair of oversized sunglasses clutching Kody's arm, a pashmina wrapped around her shoulders despite the Arizona heat. They scurried past the cameras without a word. Inside, the courtroom was packed. Every seat was taken. The judge, Evelyn Hayes, entered, and the room fell silent. Judge Hayes is in her late 60s, a veteran of the bench known for her sharp mind and her intolerance for theatrics. She peered down over her glasses at the 2 legal teams and the famous family seated before her. Judge Hayes said, "Good morning, counsel. I trust we are all prepared to conduct ourselves with the decorum this court requires. This is a court of law, not a television studio. Is that understood?" Jedediah Stone, Kody's lawyer, stood up, his suit just a little too shiny, his confidence bordering on theatrical. "Yes, Your Honor, perfectly." Eleanor Vance simply nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." The opening statements laid out the 2 completely irreconcilable versions of reality. Eleanor Vance spoke first. She was calm, methodical, and devastating. She walked the jury through the 25-year history of the Brown family, not as a religious endeavor, but as a financial partnership. Eleanor Vance said in Testuam, Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is not a case about religion. It's a case about respect. It's a case about fairness. It is a case about fraud. For over 2 decades, my clients, Christine Woolley and Janelle Brown, poured their lives, their labor, and every dollar they earned into a partnership they trusted. They worked, they raised children, and they handed over their paychecks, believing they were building a collective future for their entire family. But a partnership requires trust. It requires a fiduciary duty, a duty to act in the best interest of all partners. What Kody and Robyn Brown did was breach that duty in the most profound way imaginable. They treated the family pot as their personal piggy bank. They drained the collective resources to fund a lavish lifestyle for themselves while my clients were left to struggle. We will show you the documents. We will show you the bank transfers. We will show you the secret accounts. We will show you a deliberate, calculated scheme to defraud these women of the future they worked their entire adult lives to build. And at the end of this trial, we will ask you to restore to them what is rightfully theirs and to hold the defendants accountable for their greed and their deceit. It was powerful, it was clear, it was based on evidence. Then it was Jedediah Stone's turn. He approached the jury with the fervor of a televangelist. Jedediah Stone said, "They want to talk about partnerships and fiduciary duties. They want to show you spreadsheets and bank statements. They want to blind you with secular legalese, but they are deliberately ignoring the most important contract of all. A contract not written on paper but on the heart. A contract not signed with a pen but witnessed by the Almighty. A sacred, spiritual, celestial covenant." Kody Brown is not a CEO. He is a patriarch. He is the priesthood head of his family, a role ordained by God. The plaintiffs in this case weren't partners in a business. They were his wives, joined to him in a spiritual union. They willingly participated in a faith-based system where the patriarch directs the family's resources according to prayer and revelation. What you are witnessing here, ladies and gentlemen, is not a financial dispute. It is a bitter attack on a man's faith. It is the fury of women who have turned their back on their covenants and now want this court, a secular court, to punish a man for living his religion. The law protects religious freedom in this country, and we will prove that this court has no business tearing apart a family's sacred financial structure simply because some of its members lost their faith. The courtroom was silent. Stone had done it. He had put the spiritual marriage defense front and center. He wasn't just defending Kody, he was putting the entire concept of secular law on trial. Judge Hayes looked on, her expression unreadable. The battle lines were drawn, and the first witness to be called to the stand by the plaintiffs was the one who started it all, Christine Brown. The emotional heart of the family was about to lay bare the financial betrayal that had torn them all apart. This was the moment everything would change. The first part of this explosive story was just getting started, with the real fireworks yet to come. The judgment of Kody Brown. Welcome back to COCO Gossip's exclusive deep dive into the trial that shook the world of reality TV. In part 1, we laid the groundwork. The explosive confrontation, the legal armies, the damning evidence uncovered in discovery, and the bizarre spiritual marriage defense Kody Brown was betting his entire future on. Now, in part 2, we take you inside the courtroom for the testimony that blew the lid off decades of financial secrets. We have the witness accounts, the cross-examination meltdowns, and the final epic takedown from the judge that would change everything. Buckle up. This is where it gets truly insane. The witnesses, testimony, and tears. The first witness for the plaintiffs was Christine Brown. As she walked to the stand, a hush fell over the room. She looked directly at the jury, avoiding eye contact with Kody, who was staring daggers at her from the defendant's table. Robyn, predictably, was already dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Eleanor Vance began her questioning gently, establishing Christine's history with the family. She had Christine recount her life, joining the family as a young third wife, working multiple jobs in the early years, raising 13 children collectively, and her eventual role as a major income earner through her TLC contract and her successful LuLaRoe business. Eleanor Vance said, Mrs. Woolley, for the 25 years you were part of this family, what was your understanding of how the family's finances worked? Christine Brown said, It was the principle. We were all one family. Everything we earned, every paycheck, every bonus, It went into one account, the family pot. We all lived off of that. We all contributed to that. It was supposed to be for all of us, for our children, for our future together on Coyote Pass, Vance. And did you, in fact, contribute your income to this family pot? Christine. Everything, every single dime for 25 years. When I started making significant money from the show and from my business, it all went in, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. I trusted Kody. I trusted that it was being managed fairly for everyone. Vance then walked Christine through the evidence. She displayed bank statements on the large courtroom monitors, showing massive deposits from Christine's business account into the Brown family trust. She showed the closing documents from the sale of their Las Vegas home, where Christine's equity, over $200,000, was rolled directly into the family pot, not given to her personally. The paper trail was undeniable. Then came the cross-examination. Jedediah Stone approached the witness stand with a condescending smile. His goal was not to dispute the financial records, but to assassinate Christine's character. Jedediah Stone. Mrs. Woolley, you speak of a family pot, but you were not in a business, were you? You were in a spiritual marriage, correct? Christine. It was my family. It was a marriage, a Stone. A marriage based on the principles of your shared faith, a faith that you have since abandoned, correct? Vance. Objection, Your Honor. Relevance? Judge Hayes. Mr. Stone, tread very carefully. At Stone. It is central to our defense, Your Honor. Her motives are on trial here. Mrs. Woolley, isn't it true that in your faith the husband, the priesthood holder, is entrusted by God to preside over the family, including its finances? Christine, her voice wavering slightly. The principle is that he presides in righteousness, not to take from some to give to others. It's supposed to be a partnership. Stone. A partnership where you vowed to honor and obey your husband, a vow you broke. Isn't that right? You broke your sacred covenant with Mr. Brown and with Kody. Stone. Isn't it true that you are only here today because you are bitter? Bitter that Mr. Brown fell in love with Robyn, bitter that you are no longer the center of attention, and now you want to use this court to exact your revenge, to punish him for your own spiritual failings. Vance. Objection. Counsel is harassing the witness. Judge Hayes. That's enough, Mr. Stone. Move on, or I will end this cross-examination for you. The attack was brutal, but our sources say it backfired spectacularly. The jury didn't see a bitter ex-wife, they saw a woman being bullied for standing up for herself. Stone had shown his hand. Their entire defense was to slut-shame Christine for leaving a bad marriage and to frame her lawsuit as a form of religious apostasy. Next up was Janelle. If Christine was the heart of the case, Janelle was the brain. She was calm, logical, and unflappable. She walked the jury through spreadsheets she had personally created, tracking the family's income and major expenses for over a decade. She presented the smoking gun document our sources had told us about. It was a handwritten ledger from their early years in Utah. In it, Kody had meticulously detailed the initial financial contributions of Mary, Janelle, and Christine. Beside each entry, he had written loan to the Brown family partnership and calculated their percentage of ownership in their first Eleanor Vance. Mrs. Brown, can you tell the jury what this document is? Janelle Brown. Voiceover, calm, and factual. This is a ledger Kody kept when we bought our first house in Lehi. He was very clear with us. He wanted to track our individual contributions as an investment, so that if anything ever happened, we would each have a record of our share. He called it our partnership ledger. Vance. So, from the very beginning, Mr. Brown himself treated the family finances as a partnership, not as a church tithing, correct? Janelle. Yes, absolutely. He created the very system he is now trying to deny. Jedediah Stone's cross-examination of Janelle was a complete failure. He tried to confuse her with complex questions about theology, but she refused to take the bait. Jedediah Stone. Mrs. Brown, as a woman of faith. Janelle. Cutting him off. Mr. Stone, my faith is not on trial here. My financial records are. I have presented them. If you have a question about a specific line item on page 47 of Exhibit C, I would be happy to answer it. Otherwise, I have nothing more to say about my personal beliefs. The courtroom was stunned into silence. Janelle had completely disarmed him. He stammered for a moment, shuffled his papers, and then said, "No further questions." He had been utterly defeated by her calm, factual resolve. The plaintiff's final key witness was Mary Brown. Her testimony was the wild card. She was called to the stand and looked deeply uncomfortable. Vance's questioning was short and to the point, establishing that she, too, had contributed all her income to the family pot for 30 years, including the money from LuLaRoe that paid for her bed and breakfast, which Kody had initially tried to control. The real drama was the cross-examination. Jedediah Stone thought he had a friendly witness. He was wrong. Jedediah Stone: "Mrs. Barber, you were Mr. Brown's first wife, the beginning of this celestial family. You believe in these principles, don't you?" Mary Brown said, "I believe in the principles I thought we were living." Stone: "And you don't believe this is a business, do you? It's a family, a spiritual family." Mary, taking a deep breath, and said, "It was supposed to be, but when my money I earned, was used to pay for things for other households while my own was struggling. When my equity was taken without my consent, that doesn't feel like a family. It feels like a business, a badly run business." It was a bombshell. Mary, the loyal first wife, had just validated the entire premise of the lawsuit. Kody stared at her, his face a mask of betrayal. Robyn shook her head, muttering "unbelievable" under her breath. The plaintiffs had rested their case on a powerful note of unified financial grievance from all three of the first wives. Now it was Kody's turn to defend the indefensible. The defense, Sobbin' Robyn and the King's Fury. The defense's case was, in a word, a catastrophe. Their entire strategy rested on painting Kody as a righteous patriarch and Robyn as a blameless victim. It started with Robyn taking the stand. From the moment she sat down, the waterworks began. This was the Sobbin' Robyn performance of a lifetime. Her testimony was a masterclass in deflection, victimhood, and what her critics would call emotional manipulation. Jedediah Stone: "Mrs. Brown, how has this lawsuit affected you?" Robyn Brown choked with tears and said, It's been so hard. I just don't understand. I thought Christine and Janelle were my sisters. I loved them. For them to come after me, to come after my tender-aged children, to say these awful things, that I took their money, I just wanted a family. I just wanted us all to be together." She claimed to have no knowledge of the family finances, saying, "Kody handles all of that. I'm just a wife and a mother. I don't look at the bank accounts. I trust my husband." This, of course, was a lie that Eleanor Vance was all too happy to expose on cross-examination. Vance was brutal. She put Robyn's credit card statements up on the monitor for the entire courtroom to see. Eleanor Vance: "Mrs. Brown, you testified that you don't look at the bank accounts. Is that correct?" Robyn, dabbing her eyes: "Yes, Kody handles it all." Vance: "Then can you explain this American Express statement from December 2019? It shows a balance of over $15,000. And can you see here where the payment was made? It was a direct transfer from the Brown family trust account, an account you claim you know nothing about." Robyn: I guess Kody paid for it. I don't know." Vance: "Let's look at the charges, shall we? A charge for $2,800 at a high-end jewelry store, multiple charges at Williams-Sonoma, and here, a charge for $2,200 from Precious Moments Collectibles. Are these your collectibles, Mrs. Brown?" Robyn, crying harder: "They're for the family, for our home. I was trying to build a beautiful home for all of us." Vance: "A beautiful home that Christine and Janelle were not living in, correct? A beautiful home that was paid for with their money without their knowledge or consent. Money, I might add, could have gone to pay for Isabel Brown's back surgery, a surgery for which Christine had to publicly beg for donations, isn't that right?" Robyn, that's not fair. We were going to get the money. It was just a timing thing. Et Vance. A timing thing. While Christine was fundraising, you were buying figurines. No further questions, Your Honor. Robyn practically fled the witness stand, sobbing into Kody's shoulder. Her performance had been a complete disaster. She had come across not as a victim, but as a greedy, dishonest woman who had been caught red-handed. But the main event was yet to come, the climax of the entire trial. Kody Brown takes the stand. Kody swaggered to the witness stand like a conquering hero. He was not there to be questioned. He was there to preach. Jedediah Stone led him through his version of the family's history, allowing him to pontificate about his faith, his divine calling, and the sacred nature of his family. And then he said the words that would seal his fate. Jedediah Stone, Mr. Brown, explain to the jury the nature of your financial relationship with your senpees. Kody Brown said, "This is a religious covenant, not a business. This is a priesthood-led family. My wives agreed to that. They agreed to live under a higher law. I am the head of this family. I direct the funds as I see fit, through prayer and revelation. Their money became family money, and I am the steward of the family money. That is the order of things. It is God's order." He had said it. In open court, he had just confessed to the central claim of the lawsuit, that he took his wife's money and did whatever he wanted with it, believing he was divinely entitled to do so. Then it was Eleanor Vance's turn. Her cross-examination is now the stuff of legend in Arizona legal circles. She didn't yell, she didn't attack, she simply used Kody's own hypocrisy against him, piece by devastating piece. Eleanor Vance said, "Mr. Brown, you claim your family is a religious covenant and not a business, subject only to God's law. Is that a fair summary?" Kody Brown: "It is." Vance: "Then can you explain this document? It is your 2017 tax return. It is a Form 1040 filed with the United States Internal Revenue Service. Is this your signature?" Kody: "Yes." Vance: "And you filed this jointly with Robyn Brown, correct? A legal status provided by the secular United States government." Kody: "It was for the tax benefit." Vance: "Ah, the tax benefit. So when the secular government's laws benefit you financially, you are happy to follow them, is that right?" Vance: "Let's look at another document. This is the mortgage application for your home in Las Vegas, the one where 4 of your spiritual wives lived. You listed all of them on the application to help you qualify for the loan, didn't you? You used their financial existence to secure a loan from a secular bank." Kody: "We needed a place to live. Vance: "And this one, the deed to the property at Coyote Pass. Purchased with what you call family money, but held by a secular legal entity, an LLC, created under the laws of the state of Arizona. You used secular contract law to protect your ownership of that land, didn't you?" Kody: "You're twisting everything." Vance: "Am I, Mr. Brown? Or is it that you have spent your entire life with 1 foot in the world of secular law and 1 foot in your celestial covenant? You demand the benefits of a legal partnership, joint tax filings, co-signed loans, LLC protections, when it suits you. But when it comes time to accept the responsibilities of that partnership, the duty to be fair, the duty to not steal from your partners, you suddenly hide behind God. You can't have it both ways, Mr. Brown. You cannot claim the rewards of Caesar's world and then claim immunity from Caesar's laws. Which is it? Are you a partnership or are you a church?" Kody exploding, pointing a finger at Christine: "We were a family until she destroyed it. She broke the covenant. She has no right to anything. God will be my judge, not you and not this court." The outburst was stunning. He had completely lost control. His narcissistic rage had consumed him, and he had revealed the truth of his position. He believed he was above the law. Eleanor Vance stood in silence for a moment, letting his words hang in the air. Then she turned to the judge. "No further questions for this witness, Your Honor." The defense rested. Their case was in shambles. All that was left were the closing arguments and the judge's final word. The judge's takedown. The closing arguments were a formality. Eleanor Vance calmly and methodically summarized the mountain of evidence, showing the clear financial trail from Christine and Janelle's earnings to Kody and Robyn's pockets. Jedediah Stone, on the other hand, gave a wild, rambling speech about religious persecution, the Founding Fathers, and the sanctity of marriage. It was a desperate Hail Mary, and everyone in the courtroom knew it, because this was not a jury trial. At the request of both parties who wanted a swift resolution, the case was decided by a bench trial. There was only one opinion that mattered: Judge Evelyn Hayes. After the closing arguments, she did not adjourn. She did not take the matter under advisement. She cleared her throat, looked down at Kody and Robyn Brown, and began to speak. And what she said was a legal evisceration so complete, so scathing, that our source inside the courtroom said you could have heard a pin drop. Judge Hayes said, "I have listened to the testimony in this case for the past several days. I have reviewed the hundreds of pages of evidence submitted. And frankly, in my 20 years on the bench, I have rarely seen a case where the facts are so clear and the defense is so utterly and profoundly bankrupt. The defendants, Mr. Kody Brown and Mrs. Robyn Brown, have asked this court to believe a fantasy in which they are the leaders of a sovereign religious entity, immune from the basic principles of law and fairness that govern every other citizen of the state. They have wrapped themselves in the flag of religious freedom, but it is clear to this court that this flag is being used not as a shield to protect their faith, but as a sword to enrich themselves and as a cloak to hide their fraud. Let me be unequivocally clear. This court takes no position on the defendant's faith. Your right to believe what you want to believe is sacrosanct. However, that right ends the moment you use your faith as a justification to financially harm others. The First Amendment protects your right to call your family a celestial covenant. It does not, however, give you the right to commingle funds in a shared financial entity for over 2 decades, file joint tax documents when convenient, enter into multiple property agreements as a collective, and then, when your partners wish to leave, declare their contributions forfeit. Mr. Brown, you stood on that witness stand and, with a straight face, argued that your authority was God-given and therefore beyond this court's jurisdiction. Yet, the evidence is overwhelming that you have repeatedly and willingly submitted to this court's jurisdiction and the jurisdiction of other secular authorities whenever it served your financial interests. You cannot cherry-pick your reality. You cannot claim the benefits of a financial partnership when it suits you and then hide behind religious freedom to justify what is, in the plainest terms, financial fraud. You maintained a shared financial entity, the Brown Family Trust, for over 2 decades. You filed joint tax documents when it was convenient to lower your tax burden. You entered into multiple legally binding property agreements as a group. These are the actions of a legal partnership, whether you choose to call it that or not. And with the benefits of a partnership come the fiduciary duties of a partner, a duty of loyalty, a duty of care, a duty of transparency. You have breached every single one of those duties in a manner that is both shocking and reprehensible. You systematically diverted funds meant for the collective good of all 4 of your partners to the sole benefit of yourself and your legal wife, Mrs. Robyn Brown. You did this while lying to your other partners about the family's true financial state and while allowing them to live in precarious and substandard conditions. This was not a revelation, Mr. Brown. This was greed. Therefore, it is the judgment of this court that a de facto financial partnership existed. It is the judgment of this court that the plaintiffs, Christine Woolley and Janelle Brown, are entitled to an equitable distribution of the assets of that partnership. The judge then laid out the verdict. It was a total victory for Christine and Janelle. Watin 1. Coyote Pass to be liquidated. The court ordered the immediate sale of the entire Coyote Pass property via a court-appointed receiver. The proceeds were to be divided. 2. Financial judgment. The court entered a monetary judgment against Kody and Robyn Brown personally for $1.2 million. This figure was calculated based on a forensic accountant's analysis of the money Christine and Janelle had contributed that had been improperly diverted, plus interest. 3. Robyn's house. A lien was placed on Kody and Robyn's home. If they could not pay the judgment, the house would be sold to satisfy the debt. 4. Legal fees. Kody and Robyn were ordered to pay all of Christine and Janelle's legal fees, a figure estimated to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Kody Brown sat there, his face ashen gray. He was in shock. Robyn was no longer crying. She was staring into space, her mouth hanging open. Their entire world, their financial fortress built on the backs of the other wives, had just been demolished by a judge who refused to buy their holier-than-thou act. The aftermath and the precedent. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic for Kody and Robyn. Our sources say they were forced to put their massive Flagstaff house on the market almost immediately to avoid having it seized by the court. The for sale sign going up was a symbol of their total defeat. The Coyote Pass property was carved up and sold off parcel by parcel. The dream was officially dead, liquidated to pay back the women who had funded it in the first place. But the impact of this case goes far beyond the Brown family. Judge Hayes' ruling set a powerful and vital precedent. She drew a clear line in the sand. Her decision established that financial agreements made within plural or other non-traditional religious families are still subject to the same laws of fairness and accountability as any other partnership. You cannot use religious doctrine as a legal shield to commit financial abuse. You cannot create a system where one person holds all the power and all the money and then claim that God ordained it that way. The law, Judge Hayes declared, will protect the vulnerable regardless of the religious framework in which the abuse occurs. This ruling has reportedly sent shockwaves through other fundamentalist polygamous communities where financial exploitation of women has been rampant for generations. For the first time, there is a clear legal precedent for women in those situations to fight back and reclaim what is rightfully theirs. Christine and Janelle didn't just win their money back, they created a legal pathway to freedom for countless others. And what of the Browns? Our exclusive insider reports paint a grim picture for Kody and Robyn. They are reportedly financially ruined, forced to downsize dramatically. The carefully curated life of luxury is over. Kody is said to be a broken man, consumed by bitterness, blaming everyone but himself for his downfall. Robyn is reportedly devastated by the loss of her home and her status. The fantasy she chased for a decade has dissolved into a nightmare of debt and public humiliation. Christine and Janelle, on the other hand, are thriving. They are financially secure, free from Kody's control, and living their lives on their own terms. They took on a patriarch who believed he was untouchable, and with courage and a brilliant legal team, they held him accountable. They didn't just leave the family, they dismantled the corrupt system that had trapped them for so long. The story of the sister wives was always supposed to be about a different kind of family. In the end, it became a cautionary tale about greed, narcissism, and the incredible strength of women who decide they have finally had enough. Kody Brown put his faith on trial, and the law judged him, not for his beliefs, but for his actions, and the verdict was clear, guilty on all counts. What's next for the shattered remnants of the Brown family? And with this precedent set, which family secrets will be the next to be exposed in a court of law? You can be sure that we here at COCO Gossip will be watching. Thank you for joining us on this exclusive deep dive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more of the stories they don't want you to know. We'll see you next time.